Tybalt's story. In 10,000 BC, a young lad named Tybalt was born into a very curious family that lived within a clan of primary economy hunter and gatherers in Western Europe. Growing up, the people around him would dress in largely draped pieces of clothing made primarily from animal skins, which they sewed together using intricately crafted bone needles. Technology was foreign to these people, since the development of civilization was not yet complete. Instead, the advancements they utilized was the ability to create fire. Life was very independent at this time, yet Tybalt's family chose to stick together. The clan Tybalt was born into practiced transhumance by migrating their herds of mammoths from the north to the south during season changes so they would have a sufficient food supply at all times. During one journey, Tybalt seemed to be hit by a vicious bat, turning him into a vampire. At the age of 12, Tybalt's life was frozen forever. Watching his family grow old, Tybalt became an orphan child when all of his family died a few years later. Chapter 2. Confused and lonely, Tybalt found his way, thousands of years later, to the Neolithic Revolution in Mesopotamia. The time was 8000 BC, and for the first time, the idea of civilization was thriving in his hearth. Deciding this place was a great place to be, Tybalt found a new family to accept him as an orphan. These people went by the name Hill and were ran by a patriarchal society of the fathers of the families. Tybalt loved being here because he helped manufacture products as an example of a secondary economic system. Tybalt had friends for the very first time. He loved the idea of creating relationship and bonds with others. As any 12-year-old boy would, Tybalt loved to explore. They practically called him the original Carl Sawyer, because he was awestruck of the cultural landscape. As those around him all grew old and began passing away, Tybalt felt lonely and decided it was time to venture off to a new family. Using his vampire abilities, Tybalt transformed into a bat and flew away in hopes to not hurt his current family. Once again, Tybalt was off to meet a new group of people.
Tybalt wandered the streets homelessly until he came upon a nice-looking family at the market store. This would become his third family. The parents gladly took him in and invited him to be a part of their family. This new family was a group of farmers who greatly relied on the Columbian exchange for supplies to grow their crops. New trade routes circled the globe between the western and eastern hemisphere. Since Tybalt and his new family lived in the old world of the eastern hemisphere, they received products from the new world like corn and beans in exchange for grains. It was now the 16th century, and farmers were using innovations like terracing and irrigation on their land to grow more efficiently. Tybalt's parents also liked the idea of using cow manure to fertilize their soil. Weeding was useful whenever unwanted plants began to grow alongside crops. Tybalt quite liked his new family, but he was only able to resist his vampire urges for 5 years before he ate them all. He was on his own once again. A century later, just as the second agricultural revolution was rolling around, Tybalt became depressed and lonely once again. He began searching for another family, one with lots of kids and love to share. Lucky he was, because a week later, he came upon a man trapped under an old bridge that caved in. Tybalt saved the man's life and took him home, where his wife was so grateful that she insisted that he live with them. Tybalt was thrilled and wanted to learn everything about their lifestyles. Just like the family before, they were farmers, but they were definitely more advanced. During the second revolution, right before the Industrial Revolution, farmers were taking off with new ideas. Tybalt's family used enclosure and fencing to improve crop rotation methods. The economy and food industry urged them to produce higher yields per acre, which meant more food. This was achieved by a new invention called Jethro's tool seed drill, which more efficiently planted seeds and produced higher yields. Tybalt was amazed at how times were changing and better nutrition in the food products. Eventually, his new family was doing so well that they doubled the size of their land and hired more workers. Many years passed, and Tybalt's family was more successful than ever. His parents were growing old, and he knew they only had a few years to live. Tybalt figured he should just put them out of their misery, so he started sucking their blood. Tybalt took management of the farm, and workers continued the farming traditions for hundreds of years. By then, he was tired of farming and wanted to have a job in the tertiary or quaternary field activity. Maybe he would become a salesman in the service industry, or he would become a professional doctor to heal people and eat the ones who died. He decided on the doctor job and continued treating people for many years. The end.